Higher education occupies a unique position in the business landscape. It's both a public good and a market-driven enterprise. Colleges and universities are under immense pressure to deliver on complex, multifaceted missions, while also facing pressures to compete for students and funding and adapt to changing workforce needs. Marry all of this together with environments of shared governance, and you've got some distinct challenges colleges and universities face that can be navigated, at least partially, through effective strategic planning. My name is Jen Scumaci. I'm a senior facilitator at SME Strategy, and in this video, I'm going to share with you best practices in strategic planning as a higher education institution. At SME Strategy, the number one problem we help colleges and universities solve is the multiple destination trap. This is when an organization is stuck or not accomplishing goals or isn't operating effectively or efficiently. And it's because every person in that organization has a different idea of what success looks like. When everyone has a different idea of what success looks like, they have different ideas of what to do and different ideas of what outcomes they need to drive and different ideas of how they participate to make that success happen. Team members might be working hard and departments might be super busy, but they're not all working toward the same vision of success. They're doing work based on what success looks like to them. They're doing what they think is best. They're focusing on what they think the priorities are based on their individual vision for success. And this lack of alignment costs organizations billions of dollars every year. When everyone is working toward their own individual destinations, it breeds confusion, uncertainty, lack of progress, increased stress, siloed working, wasted time, wasted resources. And don't forget, stakeholders, your faculty, your staff, your students, community members, they all also have their ideas of what success looks like on your campus or within your organization or with your outputs. And when their ideas don't align with what they see happening, it causes low engagement, high dissatisfaction, and ultimately this impacts your overall brand in the marketplace. So what do you do? Well, the solution to the multiple destination trap is the one destination model. One destination means you are aligned in vision around the question, if you were successful 100% successful 3 years from now, how will you know? What does it look like? It means you're aligned in mission around the question of why you exist as an organization, what your purpose is, what you do, and who you do it for. It means you're aligned around core values and behaviors you need to demonstrate consistently to accomplish your vision. It means you're aligned around your strategic priorities or the most important focus areas, the most important things you should be focused on to reach your vision. And it means that you are aligned around the goals and actions you need to plan for and complete in order to accomplish your vision. So if you're a leader in higher education, consider that you're trying to move forward toward your vision of success and that some people are with you and some people aren't. You've got some people moving along toward that same vision of success that you have, and you've got some people who are driving in the opposite direction. And you've probably got a bunch of people who are moving towards some destination somewhere between what you see and what those working in the opposite direction see, right? And so consider to get out of the multiple destination trap, you first need to align your team around your strategy, your one destination for success. So, how do you get clear and aligned on your strategy? Well, it starts with identifying your strategy team and bringing them together to align them to a set of ground rules for your process. These are the ground rules we use as facilitators at SME Strategy right from the start of a strategic planning process to set the tone for what's required of people participating in this process. So the first one is to test assumptions and inferences, clarifying what did you mean by that, instead of assuming someone's intention for what they said. This rule helps us to clarify and hear things the way they're intended. Number two, share all relevant information. Strategic planning is your opportunity as a team to put all the cards on the table, for everyone to share their perspectives, their visions of success, to gain alignment together to one picture, instead of continuing to have many people moving in many directions toward many different perspectives. So each person, each function of your college or university has a different lens on what the university should do or what the year one destination looks like. How can we pull all of that out of everyone and put that onto the table together to see the same picture so that we can make the best and most informed decisions? Number 3, discuss the undiscussable. So don't avoid critical conversations and do focus on facts. If you can't focus on facts, be sure to separate them from opinions. Are there elephants in the room? Now's the time to talk about them and get all the facts out on the table about them, because the elephants are where the breakthroughs are. Next, use specific examples, not generalizations. Specific, we can deal with. Conceptual, we can't. Part of the work of strategic planning is making what's implied explicit. Number 5, explain reasoning and intent. Providing the why behind what you are sharing. So this sort of goes with test assumptions and inferences. This is about helping everyone understand a speaker's motivation and ensure their question or point is heard the way it's intended. Address the why. Why are you saying this? Are you telling me this because you care about people? Are you telling me this because you want us to make more money? Are you telling us this because you've got a gut feeling, right? I want to know why you're sharing what you're sharing. And we can't underscore enough the importance of leading with why. And lastly here, focus on interests, not positions. Take yourself out of the equation personally and place your interest in the collective, place your interest in the collective of the university or college. So think about it this way. If your college or university has a sports team, they've probably got sports jerseys. And on those sport jerseys, you'll see the university's name on the front, right? And then on the back is the individual player's name. So imagine your strategy team is each coming to the table wearing a jersey. And again, their name's on the back and the college or university's name is on the front. In this process, it's important to have a team committed to focusing on the logo on the front, focusing on the college or university's best interest, while of course bringing their perspectives, but not their own personal interests. Combine advocacy with inquiry. So here, ask questions to get to the heart of an issue versus trying to prove a point. Avoid asking leading questions. Encourage people to ask questions of each other out of a genuine space of curiosity. Design next steps to test disagreements. Disagreements are natural and they are a good thing. They're going to happen in this process. If we have disagreements in this process that aren't moving us forward or moving the conversation or process forward, it's important to determine what the next step is to resolve it and take it offline. So you don't want to hold up the whole process, getting too far into the weeds on disagreements. You're going to want to just figure out how you're going to solve those disagreements offline. So you might like Pepsi, I might like Coke. Great. What are we going to do about it? Well, we're not going to solve that here. Later on next week, we're going to schedule a Pepsi challenge. Right? You think we should invest here. I think we should invest here. Great. What are we going to do about it? We're not going to solve it now. We're going to create a Pepsi challenge to figure out what this investment should look like next week. Disagreements are a good thing as long as we can constructively work through them and come up with a plan to resolve them. Make decisions that reflect commitment. If you believe in something, you are far more likely to implement it. Don't suggest something you aren't going to commit to follow through on. We should do that, or we should do this. Great. Who should do that, or who should do this, and by when? Because goals without commitments are just dreams. Are we here to dream, or are we here to strategic plan? Next up, use a parking lot. If information surfaces in the process that is important but not urgent, document it and come back to it later. Number 11 is equity of voice and engagement. And this is about hearing from everyone in the process. So it will be important to engage quiet participants and help your talkers listen a little bit more. You've got your talkers, identify them, talk to them, engage them, and help them know when to land a plane if they're going on for too long. This is one of the areas an outside facilitator can really help with. It can be really challenging to gain equity of voice and equity of engagement as an internal person to a process who also wants to participate. And so lastly, an accountable space. This ground rule is all about holding each other accountable to this process and its outcomes. Showing up on time, coming back from breaks on time, staying distraction free, not being on your phones or tablets during strategic planning time, etc. This ground rule really encourages the team to do whatever they need to do to be fully present for strategic planning and be fully engaged in this process. So we offer these ground rules as an opportunity to level set your team on what this process is going to require in terms of people's behavior to make it successful. So once everyone's on the same page about ground rules, it's time to get to planning. When SME strategy facilitates strategic plannings with sessions with teams, this is the framework we use. It's got 5 distinct components: current state, future state, values and risks, priorities and goals, and action planning. First, we work with your team to identify the current state. Where are we now? This begins with celebrating our biggest wins. And it's important to do this right off the bat because it reminds us that we are building on top of a foundation that's already laden with successes. Next, we facilitate a SWOT scan to align everyone around a picture of your organization's current state, its strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Then we take a look together at the external environment using a PESTLE analysis. PESTLE stands for political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental. And it challenges you to think strategically about what's happening right now outside of your organization and what you anticipate happening over the next 3 to 5 years outside of your organization that can potentially impact you. Once we've aligned as a strategy team to the current state, it's time to focus on the future. And we typically work with colleges and universities on 3 to 5 year plan. This time frame balances working toward a longer term vision with the need for flexibility and adaptability to a changing environment. As a higher ed institution, you're certainly mission driven. So we start with aligning on your mission for the next 3 to 5 years. Who are you? What do you do? What do you do it for? A clear and aligned mission helps guide your decisions. It'll help you determine what to say yes to and what to say no to along the path to your vision. And next up, we define your 3-year vision or 5-year vision. We get clear and aligned on what the one destination looks like 3 years from now. So if success were a place 3 or 5 years from now, how would we know if we arrived? What does 100% success look like in no uncertain terms? Once we're aligned on where we're going, we take a look at what might get in the way. And we start here with values and behaviors because organizational culture, which ultimately is a function of how people behave at work, can either hinder us or help us in reaching our vision. And we determine what behaviors we need to see in order to have our culture work for us. Then we do a risk analysis where we list all of the roadblocks we might encounter on our way to our vision. We rate each roadblock in terms of its likelihood of happening and the impact it would have to the college or university if it does happen. And this helps us identify our biggest risks. Now that we know where we are, we know where we're going, and we know what will get in our way, the next step is to align on what we need to do. And we start this section by aligning as a team around 3 strategic priorities or 3 areas of focus that address or mitigate your biggest risks and will help you achieve your aligned vision. So why do we need to prioritize? Because saying yes to any one thing means saying no to something else. In setting 3 strategic priorities, you align on what it is you need to say yes to if you want to reach your vision, and everything else becomes a no. From there, we coach you to set 3 to 4 SMART goals within each strategic priority. SMART is an acronym that stands for specific, meaning that this goal is clear and has no uncertain terms within it. SMART goals are measurable, meaning that they have a metric attached to them that will define what success is for that goal. SMART goals are achievable, meaning that you can actually make it happen. R is for relevant, meaning that it supports your whole plan and your whole organization. It's aligned. A SMART goal is aligned to all of the things you're trying to accomplish and to your mission. And lastly, T, time bound, meaning that you've identified a date by which that goal will happen. And so now, in essence, you've got a clear and aligned strategy. And in this last component, action planning, as a team, we facilitate alignment around how you'll begin to implement this plan. So, what are the potential actions you can take to implement the identified goals? And ideally, we begin with big, obvious actions and actions that would generate quick wins to build some momentum. Then, what are your immediate needs for communicating your strategy? Who needs to know what, by when, to what extent, in order to carry your plan forward? There are two other elements all education institutions should consider when it comes to strategy. And those elements are stakeholder engagement and strategy implementation. Let's start by talking about stakeholder engagement. A stakeholder is a person or group of people who have interest or influence within your organization. Stakeholders can be internal, like faculty, staff, students, or they can be external, funders, local community members, employers, alumni. Stakeholder engagement is the active seeking of input and perspectives from your stakeholders. And this should happen before, during, and after strategic planning. Well, why? Why would you engage stakeholders in your strategic planning process? It's because you want to develop a strategic plan that will result in real change and drive real value for your college or university and those you serve. To do that, your stakeholders need to see themselves in your strategic plan. And higher education institutions typically run on some sort of shared governance structure. It is absolutely crucial to ensure every voice that needs to be at the table is at the table. Which groups on your campus hold accountabilities? Which organizations on your campus hold responsibility for your college or university's governance? Student government, other student orgs, faculty or staff unions, campus committees. Consider every element of your shared governance in your stakeholder engagement plan. Having those voices at the table from start to finish will be so important in driving this plan forward. And so for this to happen, you really need long-term commitment and strong support throughout and around your organization. You need the buy-in from your internal and external stakeholders. The way to get their buy-in is to include their voices in your process. Organizations that don't engage their stakeholders proactively, the risks that they face include being unaware of important needs and desires, include disengagement, apathy, misalignment. And potentially, if you don't involve stakeholders in your process, you're overlooking impactful themes, trends, ideas, perspectives that might add value to your strategic direction. So, to create a robust stakeholder engagement function around your strategic plan, you're going to want to consider who, when, how, and what. And we can work with you. SME Strategy works with you on the front end of your process to make sure you've identified all of these aspects. So who? We start with a stakeholder mapping process where we determine who are the internal and external stakeholders whose voices need to be included in this process. Who are on your internal or external governance boards that need to be a part of this conversation. And then we talk about when. Great. Now we know who. Now, when are we going to engage all of these groups? Front end, middle, end of process, right? Throughout planning, throughout implementation. What are the insertion points where we need to have people's voices? How will we engage them, right? So coordinating how we're going to collect input. Surveys, engagement sessions, town hall sessions. These seem to be the most popular and useful and effective mechanisms for stakeholder input. And we'll have the conversation and create the plan on the front end of who needs to be engaged at what point through which avenues. And then lastly, we look at what. What are they saying? So what are the key themes that they share through your process? How can we align the strategy team around what the input looks like? And then where are there points of insertion into your plan based on, what people have said? So as SME Strategy, we work with you as a college and university to determine what your stakeholder engagement should look like to make your strategic planning process as effective as possible. So the final consideration for colleges and universities in strategy development is implementation. A team typically budgets 2 or 3 days for on-site, in-person strategic planning. And the output of that is usually a 3-year strategic plan. So that's 2 or 3 days together on site to create the plan, but it's 1,100 days of strategic work to implement it. Yet many institutions don't budget resources, time, money, people to supporting the implementation component. And in reality, it's vital that you invest as much, if not more, resources on the back end of strategic planning to support implementation than you do on the front end to support stakeholder engagement and creation of the plan. So we actually recommend during implementation, not only focusing on actually your goals, but at the same time as working on your goals, deepening these 6 critical capacities for strategy implementation across your institution. And so let's start with alignment. There are 3 levels of alignment. The first is alignment within your strategy team. That alignment then needs to be taken and spread throughout the organization. So that's the second level, is how do we, now that we have alignment as a strategy team on where we're going, how do we get everyone else aligned across the organization? And the third level is organization within your plan. So making sure that vision, mission, values, priorities, goals, actions all align to each other as you build them, and that each step you complete aligns back up. So alignment on your team, alignment across the organization, alignment throughout your strategic plan. Next, we support teams in implementation in developing their accountability. And this is about being clear on roles and responsibilities, actions and deadlines on your implementation plan. But more than that, it's about building a structure, a system, a culture of accountability. Because even if your team is aligned on the plan itself, it won't get off the ground if you all don't hold each other accountable to implementing the plan and deepening your critical capacities to support plan and implementation. Then we have communication. So just like alignment, there are multiple levels of communication, sharing the plan, communication structures, looking at your current communication structures and how they do or don't serve you, looking at what your communication structures need to be in order to get you where you want to go, communication cadences, etc. So we typically recommend a monthly and quarterly cadence for your strategy implementation team. And in these meetings, it's important to discuss continued alignment to the plan, what's working, what's getting in the way, and what the next steps and accountabilities are to move the plan forward. Next, we talk about tracking and monitoring. And this capacity helps you reinforce accountability, helps you monitor your progress, and helps you be more proactive versus reactive. Without a method for tracking and monitoring, you won't know whether you're on track or behind in your goals. We've seen organizations use a range of tools here, from simple spreadsheets to sophisticated project management software. However you do it, it's critical on the front end of strategic implementation that you've designed a system that works for your team and your institution. Then we talk about values, behaviors, and cultures. This capacity is all about fostering culture by identifying ideal values and behaviors, committing to those values and behaviors, and then demonstrating and reinforcing them on a day-to-day basis. This starts with the leadership team. If the leaders at the top don't define and demonstrate the behaviors we need to see to drive to our vision, it won't be clear for people how they're supposed to act. So like if you say you value work-life balance, but then you reward folks who are working overtime, evenings, weekends, and give them a promotion over someone who takes their vacation time or uses their PTO, you aren't really reinforcing the behaviors you want to see. And lastly, leadership and change management. So you're the leader, and in this capacity, this is about leading the organization by developing urgency, understanding people and processes, and maintaining buy-in and alignment, not just on your strategy team, not just on the highest level of your leadership team, but across the organization. So leading successful change is tricky. If you're not an agent of change, your people will be susceptible to fear, to uncertainty, and to disengagement. And it's just so crucial that as a leader, you employ specific, realistic, and ongoing mechanisms for change management that brings people in to the change you're looking to create. These 6 capacities work together, and they are critical for organizations to deepen if you want to really ensure you're not only accomplishing your plan, but that you're developing an organization that is strategic in nature on an ongoing basis. And there you have it, an overview of the whole strategic process for colleges and universities, from stakeholder engagement and governance considerations to setting the ground rules to the strategic planning process and model to strategy implementation. It's not an easy process to plan for, and it's not an easy process to execute, especially from the inside. There are countless benefits to bringing in an outside facilitator who you can trust to be your partner every step of the way. And that's exactly why we are here. If you've got questions after watching this video, or if you want to explore how we can work together to design a robust, transparent, alignment-driven strategic planning process on your campus, drop us a line at info@smestrategy.net or visit us online at smestrategy.net.